Hello and welcome to Mental Health Care, the channel where we explore the fascinating landscape of our minds and discover pathways to a more fulfilling life. I'm your host, Teodor. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where a wave of sadness, a surge of anger, or a knot of anxiety washes over you and your immediate instinct is to push it away? To distract yourself, numb it, or just pretend it isn't there. Maybe you tell yourself, I don't have time for this, or I need to be strong. If so, you're certainly not alone. In our fast-paced world, we're often encouraged to seek happiness relentlessly, to always look on the bright side, and to quickly move past any discomfort. But what if I told you that by constantly sidestepping our difficult emotions, we might be missing out on a crucial part of healing and growth? What if these feelings, the ones we'd rather avoid, are actually carrying vital messages for us? Today we're diving deep into a concept that might feel counterintuitive, but is profoundly transformative: befriending your difficult emotions. Why honoring pain is part of healing. We'll explore why our attempts to suppress or rush past feelings like grief, anger, or sadness can often backfire, and how by treating these emotions with gentle curiosity, we can unlock deeper understanding and genuine healing. Think of your emotions not as enemies to be conquered, but perhaps as unexpected guests. Some are joyful and easy to welcome. Others, well, they might be a bit more challenging, a bit more uncomfortable. But what if even these difficult guests have something important to share before they're ready to leave? Stay with me, because by the end of this episode, I hope you'll feel empowered to approach your inner world with a new sense of openness and compassion. So let's talk about this common human tendency: emotional suppression, or as I like to think of it, trying to keep those uninvited guests locked out or hidden in the basement. We live in a culture that often champions stoicism and relentless positivity. We see curated highlight reels on social media, and it's easy to feel like we're the only ones struggling with messy, uncomfortable feelings. The message, often unspoken, is that negative emotions are a sign of weakness or that something is wrong with us. So what do? We might binge watch a series, endlessly scroll through our phones, work excessive hours, or even turn to substances, anything to avoid sitting with the discomfort. I remember a time in my own life when I was facing a significant loss. The grief felt overwhelming, like a tidal wave. My first instinct was to keep busy. I threw myself into work, filled every spare moment with activity, and told everyone, and myself, that I was fine. But the truth was, I wasn't fine. The grief was still there, under the surface, simmering. It manifested as irritability, a short temper with loved ones, disturbed sleep, and a constant low hum of anxiety. I was essentially trying to pretend an important guest, grief, wasn't in my house, even though it was making its presence known in all sorts of disruptive ways. This avoidance isn't without consequence. Research in psychology consistently shows that suppressing emotions doesn't make them go away. In fact, it can often intensify them. Dr. Daniel Wegner's research on ironic process theory, for example, famously demonstrated that trying not to think about something, like a white bear, actually makes you think about it more. The same applies to emotions. The more we push them down, the louder they might shout for attention. Often in ways that are less direct and more problematic, like unexplained physical ailments, chronic stress, anxiety disorders, or depression. Think about it like a beach ball. If you try to hold a beach ball underwater, it takes a lot of effort, right? And the moment you lose focus, it bursts to the surface with even greater force. Our emotions are similar. They are energy, and that energy needs to move. When we suppress them, we're essentially trying to hold that beach ball underwater. It's exhausting, and eventually, it's likely to pop up when we least expect it, perhaps in an inappropriate or overwhelming way. Furthermore, by constantly avoiding difficult feelings, we miss out on valuable information. These emotions, as uncomfortable as they can be, are messengers. They are our internal guidance system, signaling that something needs our attention. This brings us to the heart of today's exploration, understanding that our emotions, even the really tough ones, are not random or meaningless. They are rich with information, if only we're willing to listen. Let's revisit our metaphor of emotions as guests. Imagine anxiety knocks on your door. It's a jumpy, restless guest, pacing your inner halls. Instead of immediately trying to shove it out, what if you paused and asked, "Anxiety, what are you here to tell me?" Often, anxiety is a signal that we're feeling unsafe, unprepared, or that something we value is threatened. It might be alerting you to a genuine danger, or it might be highlighting an upcoming challenge that requires your attention and preparation. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to get you ready. Then there's anger. Anger is often a misunderstood guest. It arrives with a lot of energy, sometimes feeling fiery and destructive. Many of us are taught that anger is bad. But anger at its core is often a response to perceived injustice, a boundary violation, or a deep frustration that our needs aren't being met. It carries the message that something is not right and needs to change or be addressed. If we slam the door on anger, we might miss the chance to stand up for ourselves, protect our boundaries, or fight for what's important. The key is to learn how to let anger deliver its message without letting it take over the whole house and cause destruction. What about sadness or grief? These are the guests that often arrive softly, heavily, making everything feel a little dimmer. We rush to cheer ourselves up or get over it. But sadness is a natural response to loss, disappointment, or endings. It signals that we cared about something or someone, that it mattered. Grief is the process of honoring that connection and adapting to its absence. By allowing ourselves to feel sadness, we acknowledge the significance of our experiences and allow ourselves to process the loss, which is essential for healing and eventually moving forward with a sense of integration, not just amputation. If we don't let sadness sit with us for a while, offer it a cup of tea and hear its story, it might linger indefinitely, coloring everything with a muted tone. Even feelings like guilt or shame, often the most difficult to face, carry messages. Guilt might indicate that we've acted against our values and need to make amends. Shame, while more complex and often more debilitating, can point to a need for self-compassion and an examination of the unrealistic standards we might be holding ourselves to. The point here isn't that these emotions feel good. They often don't. The point is that they are functional. They are part of our human experience, designed to help us navigate the world, understand ourselves, and connect with others. When we learn to see them as informative guests rather than intruders, the entire dynamic shifts. They no longer have to bang on the door or break windows to be noticed. We can learn to open the door, listen to what they have to say, and then, once they've delivered their message and felt acknowledged, they are often more willing to move on. Okay, so we understand that suppressing emotions isn't helpful and that these feelings carry messages. But how do we actually start to befriend them, especially when they feel so overwhelming or scary? The key is to cultivate an attitude of gentle curiosity. This isn't about diving headfirst into the storm or forcing yourself to feel things you're not ready for. It's about turning towards your inner experience with kindness and a willingness to learn, rather than with fear or judgment. Here are a few practical ways to begin this practice. 1. Pause and name. The first step is simply to notice what you're feeling. When a strong emotion arises, instead of immediately reacting or distracting yourself, try to pause. Take a breath. Then try to name the emotion. Is it anger, sadness, fear, frustration? Research shows that simply labeling an emotion can help to reduce its intensity. Dr. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA found that labeling emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, the more rational part of our brain, and calms down the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. You can say to yourself, this is anxiety I'm feeling, or I'm noticing sadness is present. 2. Body scan for sensations. Emotions aren't just in our heads, they live in our bodies. Gently scan your body and notice where you feel the emotion. Is there a tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach? Heat in your face? Heaviness in your limbs? Don't judge these sensations, just observe them. My shoulders feel tense, or there's a hollowness in my stomach. This helps to ground you in the present experience of the emotion without getting swept away by the story around it. 3. Ask gentle questions, the curious host. This is where our metaphor of the guest really comes into play. Once you've acknowledged the emotion and its physical presence, you can approach it with gentle curiosity. Imagine you are a kind host welcoming this emotional guest. You might ask internally, "Hello, emotion name. I see you're here. What might you be trying to tell me? What do you need from me right now?" Is there a situation that triggered your arrival? There's no need to force answers. Sometimes just asking the question and being open is enough. The aim isn't to analyze it into oblivion, but to create a space for understanding. 4. Practice self-compassion. This is crucial. Befriending difficult emotions means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend who is struggling. If you feel overwhelmed, that's okay. If you can only sit with an emotion for a few seconds, that's okay too. Remind yourself that it's human to feel these things. Phrases like, "This is a moment of suffering," or "May I be kind to myself in this moment," can be incredibly powerful. 5. Journaling. Writing down your feelings can be a wonderful way to explore them without judgment. You can free write about what you're experiencing, or use prompts like, "The anger I feel is telling me," or "When sadness visits." It feels like, "A client I once worked with, let's call her Sarah, struggled immensely with anxiety. Her instinct was always to fight it, to tell herself to snap out of it. When she started practicing gentle inquiry, she began by just noticing the anxiety as a tightness in her chest and a racing heart. Instead of fighting, she'd say, 'Okay, anxiety is here.' Then she'd gently ask, 'What's up, anxiety?' Over time, she realized her anxiety often flared up when she felt unprepared for work presentations or when she hadn't set clear boundaries with a demanding family member. The anxiety wasn't the enemy. It was a messenger pointing her towards areas where she needed to take action or care for herself better. It didn't disappear overnight, but her relationship with it changed from one of war to one of cautious, curious alliance. This isn't about wallowing in negative emotions. It's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and allowing them to move through you. It might seem paradoxical, but true healing and emotional resilience don't come from avoiding pain. They come from moving through it. When we consistently make space to honor our difficult emotions, to listen to their messages with that gentle curiosity we've been discussing, several profound things begin to happen. Firstly, we build greater self-awareness. We start to understand our triggers, our needs, and our patterns much more clearly. This self-knowledge is incredibly empowering. It allows us to make more conscious choices in our lives, rather than being driven by unacknowledged emotional currents. Secondly, we develop emotional resilience. Resilience isn't about not feeling pain. It's about our ability to navigate through difficult experiences and bounce back. By practicing sitting with discomfort, we learn that we can tolerate difficult feelings, that they won't destroy us. Each time we successfully navigate an emotional wave without suppressing it, our capacity to handle future challenges grows. Our emotional muscles get stronger. Thirdly, by acknowledging our own pain, we often find deeper compassion for others. When we understand the landscape of our own difficult emotions, we're better able to connect with and support those around us who are struggling. Our relationships can become more authentic and empathetic. And perhaps most importantly, we allow for genuine processing and release. Remember that beach ball? When we finally allow ourselves to feel what we feel, the emotion gets its airtime. It delivers its message, and then often its intensity subsides and it can naturally pass, like a guest who feels seen and heard and is now ready to depart, leaving behind a sense of peace or clarity. Now, a common fear is, what if I open the door to these emotions and they completely overwhelm me? What if the sadness is too deep or the anger too big? This is a valid concern. If you're dealing with significant trauma or overwhelming emotions, it's always wise to seek support from a mental health professional. They can provide a safe space and guidance as you learn to navigate these feelings. Befriending your emotions is a skill, and sometimes we need a guide. But for many everyday difficult emotions, the practice of gentle, compassionate acknowledgement is a powerful starting point. It's not about being swept away. It's about learning to stay anchored while the emotional weather passes. So, as we draw this episode to a close, my invitation to you is this. Consider shifting your relationship with your difficult emotions. Instead of seeing them as enemies to be vanquished or inconveniences to be suppressed, try seeing them as messengers, as guests carrying potentially valuable information, worthy of being acknowledged with gentle curiosity. Honoring your pain is not about dwelling in negativity. It's a courageous act of self-compassion and a vital part of the healing journey. It allows for true processing, deeper self-understanding, and ultimately, a more resilient and authentic you. Remember these key takeaways. Emotional suppression often backfires, intensifying feelings and creating more stress. Difficult emotions like sadness, anger, and anxiety are messengers carrying valuable information. Cultivating gentle curiosity, pausing, naming, feeling in the body, and asking kind questions can transform your relationship with these emotions. True healing involves moving through pain, not around it, leading to greater self-awareness and resilience. What's one small step you can take this week to practice befriending a difficult emotion? Perhaps it's simply pausing for a moment when you feel that familiar pang of anxiety, and instead of reaching for your phone, you just notice it. Thank you for joining me on Mental Health Care today. I hope this conversation has sparked some new insights for you. If you found this episode helpful, please like this video, subscribe to Mental Health Care for more content on navigating your inner world, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future episodes. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What difficult emotion do you find most challenging to befriend? Until next time, be kind to your mind and be gentle with all its guests.